meeting of Oakham Town Council. Welcome to members of the public. That's Mr. Rose. Mr. Elliott. I'll get it right. Mr. Overton, Mrs. Overton. Mr. Ross. Welcome to the meeting. This evening, in fact, we've got our first meeting where the meeting is being recorded. So the camera in the corner now, which we've installed. So that is recorded. You'll find that if you ever see it, it'll concentrate mainly on this table and not on members of the public. But it is recording audio as well, and if you do make a reputation, it will record your voice, but it won't record you because you'll be out of shot. Okay. The other point I want to raise is that obviously tonight we're talking about co-option, and once the successful candidate is announced and once it's proposed, seconded and voted on, that person may wish to sign a declaration of acceptance of the person. There'll be a short adjournment if that is required, so that person may sign the declaration, and then they may join the meeting for the rest of the meeting. But we'll come to that later on. Okay, first of all, apologies. We've got Councillor Woodcock, work commitment, Councillor Martin, ill health, Councillor Dodds, ill health, and Councillor Noel, a work commitment. Can I take those in order, please? Can I have a proposer for Councillor Woodcock? Second. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillor Martin, proposer. Seconded. All those in favour? Councillor Dodds, proposer. Seconded, please. All those in favour? Councillor Noel, opposed. And a second. And all those in favour? Thank you very much. Are there any declarations of interest? Just local peculiar interest which you may have in respect of any items on the agenda?
I'd like to declare an interest in 18.1. I'm just chair of a residents association adjacent to it, and will stay in the room but will contribute to the event.
The same item, 18.1, a pecuniary interest. And this is actually directly affecting RCC via council receiving allowance and a free car park. So I can leave the change.
You'll leave the change for that item. Okay, thank you. Anyone, any others? Okay, minutes of the meeting held on Wednesday the 8th of October. As far as I'm aware, everyone was here, so everyone is allowed to vote. Are there any questions? You propose? Councillor Lucas, second. Councillor Stubbs, all in favour? Thank you. Before it's council's questions, there's none being notified. Chairman and members' reports. Any members' reports, please?
I've got a little
Councillor.
to do.
No need to stand up.
Good. Thank you. Finished now.
Ah, sorry. One moment while I sign the
Oh,
I'll sign that.
No. It was just to give an update, Chairman, on the promotions working group, on what had been done, or what was going to be done. The two events coming up was the switch on of the Christmas lights in back end of November. I think it's all pretty much arranged now. As we already know, the road closes between about 6:30 and 7:30. The switch on by the mayor will be at approximately 7 p.m. and we've got arrangements with the, I think it's Anne and the Rutland Concert Band, that's right, isn't it? They're going to have some of their members there playing music, and hopefully they'll, well, hopefully she's got some people also singing carols, so there's going to be a little bit of a fuss with that. and also some refreshments from a local hotelier in the area is also going to be involved for that hour to help make the evening a little bit more than just a switch on. And then we've also booked through the offices some assistance to erect any gazebos that we need. So at the moment, I think everything's arranged for the switch on. I think yourself has done the advert for the papers about it.
There's a nice bit in the paper stuff.
Brilliant. So everything's running smoothly for that. So I look forward to seeing all the councillors and that one in their best singing voices. Moving into December and the late night shopping.
Before you go on, can you just remind everybody where it is?
It's in the marketplace. Sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah, for members of the public at present, it's going to be it is in the marketplace outside of Furley's and the off-licence. Don't know if that's relevant.
Around the Christmas tree.
Around the Christmas tree. It's on the night that the tree's actually being put up, or the afternoon the tree's being put up. What's the date? It's the date of the
23rd.
23rd. So that's what it is. But it's all, everything's arranged and it will all run seamlessly, I'm certain.
Pleased to hear.
On the late night shopping, which will be on December the 8th? It's Monday. The main feature of the town council that evening will be in the chamber. We've decided between ourselves that the WW1 display that we had up at Kendry Barracks, we're going to have that up here in the chamber, as well as display boards with other stuff that the town council has done. And we're going to try and get a piece put in the paper again that highlights the fact that will be in here to encourage people to come in and talk about Christmas is a brilliant time for remembering people that aren't about, and the commemoration, which is this 4-year thing. I know people think everyone's beating the drum about it, but it's an ideal opportunity for people that didn't see Kendrew to come into the chamber and also get to know more about what the council get up to as well. And there will be some refreshments later on that evening as well. At the moment, myself and Joyce are sort of committed to that. I'm also looking for, once again, loads of councillors to come in and support. I know that the Mayor is going to be going around and judging.
I think she's judging over the weekend, because
Right.
it's going to take a bit longer than just at night.
Right, but Jane will obviously be tied up with things, but that's it really. So everything's tickety boo. If anybody feels that we should also have a gazebo outside, then I'm more than welcome to see some volunteers on that. But that's all it is, Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
With him, Susan.
Yes, you did, but I've forgotten what it was. Oh, we are going to attempt to put some Christmas decorations.
Oh yes, there'll be a little tree.
It will be done on the Sunday, so the clerk can have a day off, because I don't think he'll get into the office. But we're aiming to do it on Sunday. Hopefully.
Are you decorating yourself in World War I uniform?
I might be in uniform.
He's hiring it out.
So yeah, it's already been hired out to the Royal Navy this week. So, but yeah,
Are they sure?
yeah.
Thank you. We'll see. Anyone else? Any reports? Okay, I've got Chairman and Mayor's reports for the last month. On October the 14th, she attended the museum and the old planning decision, which obviously she gave a deputation on that. On October the 16th, she went to VAR for the AGM at Barnsdale Lodge, I think it was. On October the 18th, she went to the Sikh World War I lecture at Leicester University. And also to the concert at Uppingham, which I haven't got a date for, but I think it was about the 30th of October, 31st of October. And then obviously last Sunday she was at the Remembrance Service. So those are her activities over the last month, and I'll let you have that, which you also. Okay, March report then, please.
Although it's in front of you, firstly, just point out there is a presentation on local policing on Monday, the 24th of November. You've got all of that there. Surprise Loader and Simon Cole will be presenting plans for the reorganisation of local forces at RCC's offices from 7 o'clock. So members of the public, once they've done their presentations, will then have the opportunity to put forward their questions about policing and community safety. So if anybody wishes to attend that, then obviously off you go. Sainsbury's, you all have a letter attached to my report from Sainsbury's, just updating everybody and on where they are at the moment with the proposed development. I've now spoken to the clay manufacturers. Work will start in the middle of January at Willow Crescent. Okay, so that's the date that we've got. We've now got the lease for the land off of Barleythorpe Road. Later on in the meeting you will be asked to authorise the chairman to sign it. Jail Street mural. You've got this one, Adam.
Yeah, I do.
Just to remind you, it's being officially unveiled next Saturday at 11 o'clock. It is envisioned the mural will actually be installed on Friday, but officially unveiled on the Saturday by the Mayor of Oakham and jointly probably with the High Sheriff. And just also to point out about the fire service consultation. Now, you're all aware there's currently a consultation on the reorganisation of fire services in Leicestershire and Rutland. In particular, it is proposed to remove the fire engine crewed by the on-call staff from the Oakham Fire and Rescue Station. This would mean a reduction of 12 on-call posts at Oakham, and the Fire and Rescue Service are saying that would save approximately £97,000 per year. Consultation runs until December the 31st. You've got a website address there. It may well be that members might wish to consider this as an agenda item in December. Also, I've got a hard copy of the consultation document and questionnaire if anybody needs a copy of that.
Thank you. I'm aware that members of the public have not got sight of the Sainsbury's letter, which you may be interested
They
in.
should have
Have you got your-
they're all attached in the cards.
You've got it there, have you? Oh, that's good. Okay. So do you know what it's all about then? Application of their position. Okay, deputations by a member of the public. I've only got an indication Mr. Brooks at the moment. Anybody else wants to make a deputation? No? Mr. Brooks, I've got you down as items 8 and 18.5. Is that correct?
I will just do the last one, but because what I'd like to do is make a quick deputation and an apology to the council for something which I gleaned from the minutes. Members of the public won't realise, because they weren't here, that I was holding a number of protests, and that councillor that it was mainly aimed at has now resigned. But I was quite surprised to see that because of my actions at that meeting, the minute's silence wasn't observed for the passing of a former chairman. Now, if that was notified to me, because it wasn't on the agenda, then I would not have prevented that. So I apologise through the chair for that. I hope that you accept my apology.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I want to move on to the, I've forgotten the number, but it relates to the
18.
change of use in
18.5.
Mill Street. The applicant appears to have already moved in, but what I wanted to say was that it's very frustrating with the changes of uses, and I'm hoping that those councillors who are now apparently trained in planning matters won't comment, as you have in the past, that there's nothing the town council can do, or as at the last application came before this council, well, we can't object. You know, I would hope that the town council, I've made the request many times before, and it's not just on my behalf, it's what people say, you know, that if you want tourists or visitors to the town to shop, they need shops to go into, and Mill Street is a very prime shopping location, and it's about to lose a shop. Now, town councils, parish councils, whatever you want to call them, up and down the land, quite often block applications from estate agents, financial institutions, purely on the basis that there's too many. So I would hope that this evening that the town council will reject the application, because shops don't stay empty if they're in the right place in Oakham, and Mill Street is one of the right places. They may have got a tenant who's quite willing to pay as a financial institution, but that's not an attraction for people to come shopping. And if it was put back on the market, I'm sure they would find another gift shop or dress shop which would attract the customers that Mill Street already enjoy. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next item is co-option of a new member to Oakham South West Ward. Councillor Stokes, are you leading on this one?
Yes, thank you, Chair. All 4 applicants were interviewed. The decision made by the 3 members of the group was Joyce Lucas, Councillor Joyce Lucas, and Councillor Leanne Martin. And the applicant that we would recommend and we would put forward is Vincent Howard.
Thank you very much. Anyone any questions on
Can I just point out, we only interviewed 3.
No, I interviewed all 4.
Oh, sorry. Oh, well,
Yeah.
I didn't.
No.
Sorry.
I think what you're alluding to is that anybody interviewed in the last 6 months didn't have
Yes,
to be interviewed
yeah,
again.
that's right.
That's the point. I
But
think.
I personally only interviewed 3.
Yes. Okay. But that's all 4 were interviewed. Okay. No questions. Anyone wish to second that?
Sorry.
Second that.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Proposal,
Sorry, I thought-
proposal stand.
I thought you proposed that, then, yes. Joyce, your second.
Yeah.
All those in favour?
This is
Appointment of Mr Howard.
yeah. I propose Mr. Howard.
Those against? Those abstaining? 1 abstention. Thank you very much. Okay, and on that basis then, Mr Howard is duly co-opted for Oakham South West Ward. Okay. Mr Howard, would you like to sign the forms?
If we can spare the time.
Yes, what I can do in fact is adjourn the meeting for a few minutes while you do that, then you can join the meeting if you wish.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll adjourn the meeting. I'll just to take those planning applications now, or do you wish to take them in normal train of events?
It sounds, I'm happy to propose that we take the planning applications now. We have done it before where we feel that it might help members of the public achieve what they need to achieve if they don't want to stay for the whole meeting. So I'm happy to propose that we move the planning applications to this point of the meeting.
Okay, yep. Anybody wish to second that? All in favour? Okay, switch on.
We'll try and remember to fetch it out.
Okay, so good night.
Sorry, this is the...
This is item 18.1, which is the County Council Highways application for an extension of the existing car park at Rutland County Council offices. And the car park is the land behind the council offices, which at present is part of Rutland Drive. And it's for a 60 space car park.
That's where it is. You've got the car share bays at the eastern end of the car park, track running through. That's how it's going to be laid out. That's really it. So 560 additional 60 car parking spaces on top of what they've already got.
So, Kevin, is that coming out of the existing grounds? then?
No,
Not off-
this is it's actually part of Rutland Farm Park.
Yes, I
now.
know, but is that coming out of the grounds or out of Stamford Road?
Out of the grounds.
Right, please can I say, I agree with that, provided they don't move any trees.
Any comments?
Are there any trees?
I would say that anything where the RCC appear to be trying to alleviate the car parking issues should be encouraged, personally.
Chair, can I just mention a paragraph in the letter submitted by the Ecology Department, and it says, at the present time, we do not consider that sufficient information has been submitted in order to assess the impact of the development on the existing habitats.
On the existing, sorry,
Habitats. I mean,
That-
one
that
is
one
one
is-
is a provision of checking whether bats are there.
I'm more worried about sparrowhawk. There we are.
Do you want to see that?
No, I'm good.
Have we got information, Chairman, have we got information about these trees? Because we've recently planted, well, I'm saying 5 years, 6 years, the community planted trees in that area. Not in the car parking area, but coming off.
Okay, that's the letter.
Oh, heck.
It's part of Rutland Farm Park and it's pasture land, so I don't see, as long as there's no trees, I think I'll echo a little bit what Joyce said, but it's,
I can't think why they can't come off the drive, off Stamford Road, rather than plough down through there.
I think that's because then they'd have to, if they came off Stamford Road, then they'd have to have that gate man, wouldn't they? It's a big metal gate.
I'm just going to go and need to
They
just
don't
check.
account us though, do they?
Pardon?
They don't, in the main car park, have a man. So why do you need a manned person off Stamford Road?
Well, the gate on the Stamford Road, which accesses the farm park, is permanently closed, isn't it?
Yeah, but it could be open, couldn't it?
Well, it could be, but I mean, if they're going via the council area, then they wouldn't have to worry about opening and closing it, would they?
But they're not worrying about it opening and closing the main car park to the Catner's house.
But the issue isn't about the gate anyway, it's about that they want to make extra car parking.
I can't think why they can't come off Stamford.
So, but what's your view on this survey then?
Sorry?
What's your view on this survey?
Well, listening to what they said, I mean, I'm not suggesting that we refuse it, but my suggestion would be that we need to wait to see exactly what information can be provided by what that particular report asks for before we can make a definite decision.
Perhaps it's too late for a bat survey.
Chairman, John Ball used to farm that area, and off the Stamford Road he used to bring in his heavy machinery. So I can't understand why cars can't go off Stamford Road and not plough up a beautiful part of the parkland. But we are talking, we're not only talking bats, we are talking all the other feathered friends that we've got. And I've seen sparrowhawks coming in, taking all the blue tits away. I do,
Sorry, George, sorry.
sorry, I do have a problem that they're coming off the main Arboretum car park. Why they can't come off Stamford Road? And John Ball has used that gate for years.
Views?
Well, I've stated my views in that, you know, once again, I mean, when these planning applications, and this one particularly, if it goes before the planning committee, they have a planning officer, who no doubt would have got all the relevant information that the ecology department are asking for. We haven't got that. Therefore, I don't think we have got enough information to be able to make a proper judgment on this proposal.
Any other views on it?
Well, I think we have, and I would propose that we accept the application. So there's a proposal on the table.
Okay. Any other comments on it? No. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? No? Proposal forward, sorry.
No, that's fine, that's good.
Okay.
Can you make sure that's minuted, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone, any other proposals?
Well, I propose that we make the statement along the lines of what I suggested, and that we would need we would need all the evidence which the ecology department are asking for before we can make. We're not refusing it, we're not accepting it, we're not refusing it, we just haven't got enough latest information.
So just to make a proposal on that basis.
I would propose that's my proposal.
Okay. Proposal is that we do not feel we have sufficient information to make a decision on this application. Okay. So the seconder for that, Councillor Lucas. All those in favour? Those against? Abstaining?
I'll abstain.
2 abstain. Okay, I am going to adjourn the meeting for a short time until the clerk comes back. So adjourn again. Sorry about this, I'm just checking something. Can you get that one back in again?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Rather than talk to me. Why are we adjourned now? What have I done wrong?
Yeah, I'm pretty fine. Right. I need to start writing a book. Really,
Is that your bet?
You've got somewhere to
Is that your bet? You have no gambling.
sweepstakes.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah, that's just for turning up. I don't know what the odds are.
Oh, yeah.
This time.
Oh, going around alleys. I know. I'm not going to say it. Yeah.
Obviously, because we're not eating, just buy our own drinks.
Well, indeed. Yeah.
I thought about that.
When is it? Is it the last meeting?
Yeah, last meeting.
Yeah, we only have a meeting in December, don't we?
Oh, it's very illuminating. Oh, you do German still? Yeah, you're allowed to speak.
Remember, it's still recording.
People speak after.
Remember, it's still recording. Yeah, just let me know.
Trying to clarify.
They're introducing something called utility people extra, which is 4 hours a day. We're doing 4 hours a day for 5 days, but it's also a flex thing as well. So they're introducing must be nice to be so flexible.
Oh, that would be out. You need the primarily that wall. Is it sort of spearheaded by your particular wall? Because that includes town centre, or is it for the whole of Oakham? Or is that
Oakham North East,
Yeah.
which is twice over.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally people come from different areas.
Yeah.
Try to deal with all customers and their offices.
Yeah, so
But it's only
that particular ward. Yeah.
I'll get
I
more.
didn't know if we were going to get other wards in rotation.
You get a fee for their discretion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Oh, no, it's not.
Maybe they'll charge a fee. No, I don't pay a fee for my uniform. Because I'm doing a thing on I'm doing something for Arsenal Rutland on Friday. And then I'm doing a thing with the cadets on Monday. Let you know.
I'll send you an email from a friend of mine.
I'll come to you about not doing that's man to his
I
widow.
don't know, but yeah, please do, because that's upset me.
I think I will. We don't normally have it on us as
But if they've done notices at the beginning, like they do at Rutland County Council, you know, there's always announcements at the beginning, isn't there? If they've done it at the beginning. It's something you could probably bring up, Joyce. Thank you anyway. Maybe they can do it again at some point.
No,
It's too late.
No, leave it.
Okay.
And then you're right into Belgium. Yeah, we did in 2 days. Me and mate did about 700 miles on Friday. Went on Friday morning at the doors and came back on Sunday morning and tried to do it.
That's why I was surprised to see it.
Yeah, well, literally, I've been back in ferry got back into the UK about 10 o'clock. I think. 10:30.
Southampton.
Dover.
Oh, we don't.
So it's not too bad.
Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'll reconvene the meeting again. Now,
Yeah.
I think the statement made by Mr. Brooks, we just looked at the chapter and verse, and we think that Mr. Brooks has got a point. Although the wording is not definitive, we think that to be sure we will recast the vote again, just to make sure that we attempt to do it. I mean, one thing it says here, and I'll read out the wording: the successful candidate must have received an absolute majority vote of those present and voting. It follows that if there are more than 2 candidates for one vacancy, and no one of them at the first count receives a majority over the aggregate votes given to the rest, steps must be taken to strike off that candidate with the least number of votes.
Yes.
So, I think the only way of doing that is to recast the vote again by doing it individually. And then, if Mr. Howard turns out to be the person who is voted in, then obviously he remains. If not, then we'll... Sorry, Mr. Howard, we've got it all right. We'll have to do it again. All right? I'm sorry?
It's very short. So
I do apologise for that.
Thank you, Chair. Could I just ask, I know I'm not a councillor, but so that legal due process is carried out, it has been normal, going back a few years, that this has been recorded votes, and then anybody who has a problem, they can then refer back to it. Like in the case of 2013, there was no recorded vote, and people had to just take the word that something happened, because at that time it was sort of an unlawfully exempted item. So if it could be recorded. Sorry to interrupt the meeting.
Are you talking about individual voting, members voting recorded?
I believe that's the correct process, so that the names of the candidates...
There's no requirement to do that.
No, but councillors can ask for it, especially
Indeed,
knowing
yeah.
that there's a... So that's my
But that's
request.
up to the council to ask for that.
Yeah, that's why I'm just asking.
Yeah.
That.
But that's up to council to ask that if they consider that's what they want to do. Okay. Okay, well, sorry Mr. Howard, but we're going to have to...
Exclude you from
So at the moment, just have to sit down nice and quiet. Okay, so we have then 4 candidates for the position of member for Oakham South West Ward. I shall have to take them in any order at all. Can I take Mr. Elliott first? I see him sitting there. Can I have votes for Mr. Elliott, please? 1.
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay. Another one, Mrs. Overton. Votes for Mrs. Overton. No. Votes for Mr. Brooks. No. Votes for Mr. Howard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So the result then is Mr. Howard 5, Mr. Elliott 1, Mrs. Overton 0, Mr. Brooks 0. So on that basis, Mr. Howard has an overall majority over the rest and is therefore elected. Co-opted to Oakham Town Council. Okay. Yeah. I do apologise for that mistake, and thank you, Mr. Brooks, for raising it.
Sorry, I had to. But thank you for
Thank you.
doing it properly.
But
Can I just say one thing, if I may? That the interviewing panel, if they don't make some sort of a recommendation, there's no point in interviewing.
yeah, I think we've made the recommendation, and obviously from that, members have decided which way they wish to vote.
Oh, I agree with
So,
that.
so it's,
No,
I don't think it's a wasted exercise at all.
No, I do agree with
Because
that.
members have had the written papers and also had the benefit of your recommendation from the interviews. So I think that's gone forward and we'll see them. So, sorry, Councillor.
Chairman, it wouldn't be right to get each candidate to stand up now and say why they should be co-opted. I think it has to be done the way we've done it.
Yes,
Thank you.
I think we'll retrace it. Mr. Allen, congratulations. Thank you so much. Mr. Elliott, thank you very much for applying. I'm sorry that after a revote you didn't get in. I would say the same to Mrs. Overton as well. Unfortunately, she's gone, and Mr. Brooks as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
That's all I
Can I-
ask.
can I
It's the correct
say that-
procedure.
Can I say that there are further opportunities coming up because there are 2 vacancies that I know at the moment. So hopefully, in the meantime, 1.
Only one.
One, sorry. How do I know two? One, sorry, another vacancy.
You must know something.
Last name, no.
The current vacancy is
Oh, you are fine. You are.
Which is Oakham North West, isn't it? Yeah, Oakham North West, my apologies. Okay. So, my apologies for that, and we'll now carry on with the remainder of the agenda, which is item 9, the skate park at Cook's Place.
I do not finish off the plans.
I'm sorry, I'm...
Yeah, we're only done one item, one of the plans.
Yeah. We've done one.
Yeah, so next one is two.
Two, sorry, my apologies again. And this is the reserve matters application for the building of continuing care retirement community and care home on the Hawksmead development, comprising of 66 independent living units, 41 assisted living units, and 60 bed care home. And this is on the Hawksmead development between the bypass at Rutland College and the land to the north of the, sorry, the land to the north of the bypass.
Yeah, that's what's on the application, but it's incorrect.
I think that's incorrect as well. It's the Barthorpe. As you can see it there.
So that's the area. Obviously, it's really quite a large development. This one, 167 bed development. There's lots and lots of this. This is how it will be laid out. Lots of green space, lots of trees, various buildings, car parking spaces. So you know, it's quite a nice development. There's lots and lots of this. So these are sort of, you know, indicative elevations of what it would look like. Very much in keeping with the rest of the development, actually. This sort of 2.5, 3-storey buildings. Haven't been any objections that I'm aware of. Langham Parish Council themselves have said that they're quite happy with it. So really, there we are. It's reserved, and this is just the detail on it. Obviously, there's piles of it with layouts of bedrooms, etc., etc. So, and for those who are sort of worried, I would guess about access, I would imagine there's lifts, etc., etc. inside.
Can you put the site plan again? Because this is situated in Barthorpe, isn't it?
Well, the location plan, I'll show you where it is. So this is Barleythorpe here.
Yes, but it's within Barthorpe Parish.
Okay, so that's
Any comments now? Yeah, Mr. Watt.
Chairman, although I realise it is a reserved matter and there is essential agreement in principle, I'm sure the residents of Barleythorpe had no idea it was going to extend so close to the curtilage at the rear of those properties. In fact, quite the opposite. The residents of Barleythorpe were promised there'd be a buffer zone keeping the whole of Hawksmead away from their hamlet, so they had their own unique identity. And on that basis, there is absolutely no way that I could recommend approving this plan. They really need to move that back further away from the hamlet of Barleythorpe.
There are letters objecting.
Am I right in thinking there was due to be a green, space
There
between
should
the
be a
Barthorpe
space.
Road and the development?
Yes, and also between Barleythorpe itself.
Yeah.
Yes, Chairman, that was said at the meeting because I was at the meeting. About that buffer zone.
Right. Any other comments?
Having said that, as an older person,
Certainly, no.
I welcome that it's in what I would call a busy area. They've just done this at Scraptoft and put it in the middle of a housing estate. And elderly people don't want to be shut away. They like to see people going past, and seeing people come and go. And I think it's nice to have it integrated into a bigger development. I go along with the buffer zone, don't get me wrong, but I think it's got to be commended that it's actually not stuck out somewhere where nobody will see these elderly persons. I'm nosy, you see, I like to see.
I'm sure you're not. Any other comments?
I am concerned about the water zone.
Yeah.
My own personal concern is the provision for transport for the elderly to get into Oakham. And the location either onto the main road, which is a very busy road through Barleythorpe, and London Way.
Okay. I presume this will come through through the infrastructure, won't it, transport?
I think highways will be on that,
Yeah. I think that
yeah.
that will eventually come. Obviously, like any developments, you're not going to get instantaneous transport.
I don't think there's any comment at the moment
No.
from highways.
No, absolutely.
So I don't think there's any comment at the moment from highways.
No, and the hopper does go down. You've got all the bus shelters already down that way.
Yeah. If I remember rightly, the Section 106 agreement for Hawksmead includes an extension of the hopper,
Yeah,
which obviously will serve this area. Yes.
yeah, it was highways that they'll have to say, have the last word.
Okay. Any other comments?
Can we incorporate that proposal with this buffer zone somehow? And I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
So
Then we want to make a proposal.
I don't know how to say it.
Do the start of it, if you like. I'd recommend refusal on the grounds that the development extends too close to the hamlet of Barleythorpe, thereby risking losing the identity of Barleythorpe as a unique hamlet, and that it's against the master plan that Hawksmead gained approval for.
You got that, Richard?
You better remember what you just said.
Or words to that effect.
That's a lake or something.
Yes, I just said that because we're recording all this.
Yeah.
I think.
So this also goes against the master, the
approved
Hawksmead
master plan, which promised separation to
Yes.
Hawksmead from Barleythorpe.
Yes, it is.
Would you like
master plan.
and burn out?
Approves separation between.
Could you just clarify on that, where Barleythorpe Road is?
It's to the left.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this location plan isn't great actually.
Barleythorpe Road's
So this is, well, I think this is part of the buffer, I think, yeah.
Well, there's not a
But it
separation.
tends to run out, doesn't it? Along there.
Is there not a separation?
Was there a
Oh,
lot
the gap there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I thought stood, isn't it?
those are the cottages.
Oh, that's been developed anyway, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. That's houses.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
small housing is no good.
Is that the buffer zone?
It's got houses on it.
Okay,
So
so
refusal on the grounds that the development is too close to Barleythorpe, thereby risking the loss of identity of Barleythorpe. This also goes against the approved master plan, which approved a separation between the development and the village of Barleythorpe.
is that reflected?
Does that sound right?
All right.
That sounds
Do we have a second of that? That's the steps. All those in favour?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Those against? Do you want to record it?
Always. Thank you.
That's right.
Jack, can I mention at this point, it might be an idea to state why these plan applications are on this agenda and not being looked at by the sub.
Okay, would you like to state that then? Would you like to state that?
Is it relevant?
Well, I think it is because, it needs so that people everybody understands, because we did say as a subcommittee that we would, if there were contentious or large planning applications, that we'd refer it through to the council, which is what we've done on this occasion with every application.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, 18.3. So reserve matters application again to alter the apartment block 1 to 9, is it? Land between Barthorpe, Oakham Bypass, Rutland College. And again, they've got land north of the Oakham Bypass. It's not north of the bypass, it's always south of the bypass. Now this has already been come through in the master plan.
Yeah, it's the apartment blocks here, and if I can just clarify, this is nothing to do with the community, sort of, not community, the sort of centre that members looked at a little while ago, and which was subsequently withdrawn, with the shops with flats above them. This is
Oh, yes.
not that one, okay? This is something completely different, okay? So, from what we have, it's mainly cosmetic and internal alterations. Just get it around. So that is what they look like, or what the original plans were, and see some subtle changes. And I can get down there. Okay, so that's what they're going with now. Any questions about it?
What are the changes then?
Person appointment, something.
Balconies. No, I'll get that now. Sorry.
Oh, oh,
It'd be nice to have more on one page, but unfortunately we haven't. So
Changes of the balcony as well.
Yeah, there seems to be a change to the balconies.
balconies, the sort of the roofs are sort of slightly different as well.
Yeah.
And what Bell is saying is now more the amended design is now more in keeping with the surrounding the surrounding designs of buildings. It has been a little bit disparate, I suppose. Retain that.
Any points on these?
Just through you, Alf, to start if I may. Was this the block that we recommend a refusal for on the grounds of inadequate car parking and so on?
No.
No.
It's a different
No.
one.
That's a different one.
Thank you.
yeah. I've heard that.
Any other points? Do you have a proposal then, please? Proposal is to accept.
Yes.
Seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, proposal and seconded to accept. Yes. All those in favour? All those against? Abstain? 2 abstains. Okay, thank you very much. And item 18.4, the direction of a 1 metal snap frame. Hanging sign on 2 Market Street.
Well, the reason that the planning subcommittee sort of said was to come back was because it was originally recommended for refusal. This is the
Green sign.
green sign, green sign, which was, I mean, this is what it looks like at the moment. There are temporary sort of signs, and it was there was a very bright lime green. It's now a little bit more toned down, so just to bring you up to speed on this one, really.
Oh,
So they're not going to paint the
no,
wall.
I've just read that. In Market Street, but I don't know where I read it.
Colour of the door and the site actually can match.
Well, we weren't allowed, I don't know it, but they were not allowed to have a green door, were they, because it got refused. So what they've obviously come back with is looks like they've come back with just having a hanging sign, is that right, which is now green?
Yes.
Which I would equally support.
Okay.
I would, if there's no other comments, I would propose that the fact that the applicant has gone away, listened to the reasoning of the councils before and then come back with this amendment, that we should support this, and I'd recommend it for approval.
Okay, any other comments before we... Okay. Is there a seconder for that?
I'm sorry, Chairman, is this going on a listed wall? Is that what we're talking about? Is this a listed
It
building?
is a listed
It is a listed building.
And it's going, because at the moment they've got this very thing on an A-frame on the footpath. I've read it today.
My proposal still stands, actually.
Okay, and second was,
Because I thought of going in.
all those in favour? Against?
Yes. Yes, I'll be against.
You're against. You want it no?
Usual.
Mr. Howard?
Staying from that.
You're abstaining, aren't you?
What we do.
On the other hand, it's better than an A-frame on the
One abstention.
footpath.
Now, the next one, Mr. Brooks, which is one we made a deputation on, under the new standing orders, when we've discussed it, you can come back and then ask your views on what you've heard. It's not to make another deputation on the same basis as the first one, but it's purely on the discussion that we've had on that item. So before we take the vote, I'll come back to you and ask you if you have any other comments.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, next one is 18.5, which is a property which is currently a retail property, which is for change of use to a financial management property.
Yeah, so it's this one here was obviously formerly Linnet's a ladies' fashion outlet, and it is for a change of use to financial management. And your agenda's it got a exclamation mark, I think that was typo from me, so it is actually A1.
A1 retail.
It's A1 retail, and it's proposed change of use to A3, and that's really it. Letter, Thompson.
Who's that from?
What's that from?
To be tempted.
It was from Mrs. Thompson.
You don't know.
Yeah, it's got the top left, it says Joyce Thompson.
Yeah, but is it, is she
Maybe
she's
she's
the person making the application? I'm not sure who she is.
Yeah, it's a letter of support for the application.
It is a letter of support, that's all. So it's not from the applicant now. Okay, any comments? That's all.
Thank you, Chairman. I did go and have a look, and I also looked at the policies that we're supposed to look at. And according to the map of Oakham Town Centre, this street is classed as a secondary shopping street, a secondary shopping frontage. And the policy that was approved the day before Lidl, or Aldi, really, I don't know.
Hold it.
Aldi, says proposals for non-A class uses in secondary shopping frontages will only be permitted where it is demonstrated that the proposal will not result in an adverse cluster of non-A class uses in the secondary shopping front and will not harm the predominantly retail character of the secondary shopping frontage. So really, it sounds like a matter of opinion, doesn't it, as to whether it is too many or how it will affect it and everything else. So Joyce caught me looking at it today when she drove by, and on the side of the application it goes retail, retail, application site, retail, retail, takeaway, retail, retail. So on that basis I wouldn't have thought it detracted from the retail. But looking at it again, it's the main approach from the high street, which is the primary shopping area, and looking along there the other side, including the estate agent on the corner, because it has a frontage onto this road, it goes estate agents, voluntary shop,
Solicitor.
solicitor, tea room, pub, and I'm just beginning to wonder if, looking from the main street into the secondary street, if we have another one changing from retail, whether it's going to detract from the shopping frontage and have people think, well, it's not much up there, we won't go up there. So, although planning is supposed to be legal and technical and on policies, to me this sounds like a judgment call. I'm not sure which one I would go with. But it does demonstrate that there are policies there and we can affect decisions or make our representations, but it's just that this one isn't very clear to me.
This is a loan financial management.
It's a loan on that side, but that end of Mill Street is turning non-retail, which it's not supposed to because it's a secondary shopping site.
Right. Any comments?
The one on the corner.
It's technically Captain
It's
Street,
technically Captain Street, though,
but
isn't
it
it?
has a shop in front, it has a glass frontage.
It goes round that corner.
It does go that, yes.
Chairman, can I just ask the council? So, the charity shop is a retail,
It probably is, yes.
Yeah.
classed as retail. The tea shop's classed as retail.
I wouldn't,
You wouldn't? I'm just
no.
asking,
Solicitors I wouldn't, put I wouldn't, but again,
but you can buy cakes and cups of tea.
There's a vacant property in
It's
between
a
that.
very fine line, isn't it?
Very fine line. But between there, was it the cupcake shop which is now closed?
Gone, yeah.
That's gone, so there's empty property there.
yes.
Then you get what used to be the
Empty
fish and
material.
chip shop, which is now
Yeah.
a cafe.
Yes.
So I don't know which way I would vote, I'm just
Well,
pointing out that I just happen to have that piece of
I think I would, first of all, I'd commend Alan Walters, Councillor Walters, for going into such detail, and what it's highlighted to me that somebody that cares to walk down Mill Street to get some financial advice can certainly purchase something from a shop and get a cup of tea and a bun. So I don't think it's it's not swamped with financial shops.
It's the only one.
And it's the only one. The council did make the decision to accept the application, but we can be certainly mindful then of Councillor Walters' thorough investigations. I don't think we've got enough grounds to refuse it at the moment.
The chairman, though, the counter argument to that is, if we set a precedence, we could have another one, and another one.
Well, it's only one on Mill Street,
At the moment.
because one's on Catmus, and this would only be one, so we're not really setting a precedent.
Yes, but if another empty shop came with and wanted to put an estate agent, then
We would
Go ahead.
unfortunately, you can't look to the future on that basis,
No.
because you never know what's going to come into those,
No.
that shop, so it's not something we can actually look at.
no,
But any unit that's occupied is serving
Better
the
than
community, is better than empty, and is serving the community, it's also paying its rates.
I'd sooner see something occupied rather than an empty shop, which is, getting
My floor's
antisocial behaviour, get stickers on it and broken windows, I must admit. But my personal view is that I prefer to see less financial management shops. Okay,
Chairman, if I just make,
Yeah.
with all due respect, it's not whether it's so many financial, it's how many are not retail.
Yeah. In your argument.
I have no argument.
Okay. Your statement
I
then
just
is
don't
that
know which one.
this is one amongst the many retail. Okay, can I have a proposal then, please?
Well, I'm going to...
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, I just realised, Mr Brooks, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to speak then?
By the way, I might as well be the first person that takes up this
Yeah.
new wonderful inclusion of the public,
Okay.
which I've been calling for a long time, so very pleased with that. I've listened to what people have said, and some things I've agreed with and some things I haven't agreed with, and I particularly agree with Mrs Lucas, which is unusual,
no.
where she says it could be the start of, well, the thin edge of the wedge, but I believe that I'll look away from Joyce, but you mentioned the shop on the corner, and that was one that came to the council, which was retail, which could be considered not the sort of shop I would have went to shop in when they were men's first and ladies before that, but Alf would know Mary Porter, and she would call that an anchor shop, which would attract people to. And when it came to the town council, it was one of those applications where, again, which I find an extraordinary reason, is, well, we prefer to see something in it rather than empty. I'm pretty sure that the financial place will be closed at weekends, which will also detract from people going down there. When for example, I won't mention the name of the company, but we have a lot of estate agents moving into. That comes under the umbrella of financial.
It's not another deputation.
No,
it's
I'm just
coming from
pointing
what we've
out
just been talking about.
that there are a lot coming, and people criticise the town council. You're probably fully aware of that. There's been letters in the paper saying the town council could stop the coffee shops, they could stop this, we want retail. And you've always said you can't, but to me I see this as a perfect opportunity to maybe take on board what Councillor Lucas has said and actually say, no, because actually it's a prime location. It may be classed as secondary, but it could quite easily be filled soon with retail.
Okay,
Thank you anyway.
thank you. Okay, can I now have a proposal?
Well, somebody either has to propose that we accept it or we reject it. And if nobody's going to propose that we reject it, to be fair to the people that have made the application, it is only appropriate, because of my viewpoint, that we propose we accept, and I'm prepared that that may fail. So I propose that we accept the change of use, Chairman.
Do you have a second?
My work
You have
here
your
is
motion.
That's the right way to do it.
Can I then have a proposal that we do not accept?
Come on.
Okay. Is that the way you want to word it?
Yes.
We object, okay.
So,
Have a second, Ron.
what was that? Sorry, I missed it.
That we do not accept the proposal. You're seconding. Yes. All those in favour of rejecting?
Chairman, do we need to put the reason before we vote?
I think we do, don't we? Yes, thinking that.
Just what you said.
And the reason, have we got the reason? Right. And the reason is, would you like to give it again, Councillor Wall? You turn up your book.
Well, assuming that the proposer is happy with the wording, that the change of use would be contrary to policy SP12
Yeah.
and would result in an adverse cluster of non-A class uses in a secondary shopping frontage.
Say one.
In a second, or indeed secondary shopping frontage.
A1 class uses.
Whereas
It's
it
reset.
says A, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, did you plan to that? Because it's both sides of the road.
Now, all I was going to say was that it's going to be very interesting if the vote goes for rejection, because I'm sure we all know that this is not grounds for rejection. We are taking a lead, if you like, because personally I would like to see it retail, and that is my main reason for rejecting it. For the council, it'll be interesting to see if we make it clear, we have made it clear, what views they come to.
I haven't actually quite finished on it.
The fact
You
of the
were
matter
very good
is
with words. I wanted
they've
to add on the
moved
end
in.
that we were taking into account both sides of the road and its closeness to the high street.
Both sides of the road and the closeness to the high street. Will you accept that?
I will accept.
Take into account both sides of the road and the closeness to the high street. Okay. We'll have that read out in a minute when Richard's written it down.
Have we voted on this?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right. Any to write? Read it out to me.
Okay, do you not accept the proposal? Well, yeah, the council does not accept the proposal. The change of use is contrary to policy SP12 and will result in a cluster of non-A1 classes in the secondary shopping frontage, taking into account both sides of the road and the closeness of the high street.
Right, have a proposal and a second, Ron.
Have we had a proposal?
Have we had a second?
Yeah,
Second,
second.
sorry.
Sorry, that's what we were just
Okay, all those in favour of that?
I'll abstain, if that's all right.
2, 4, 6, and 1 abstention.
Abstention, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we return to the agenda now at item 9, which is the, yeah, can you turn the church up, please? Which is the skate park at Church Close. Councillor Waters, are you leading on this one? Or they just put you on the spotlight there?
You put me in the spot there.
Do you want me to?
Oh, go on.
I'll join in.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you've got the report there. Council Waters and myself have put this together. Quite simply, it's to summarise, the current facility is at the end of its life. It will need replacing in spring of next year or early summer of next year. Yeah, just press it.
That's it.
That's
That's it.
Okay.
It should be there.
One possibility for the funding is through a grant scheme funded through Section 106 monies that hopefully Alan will be able to update us on, which was agreed at Council on Monday. You've got the proposals there. We've had 2 designs through already. We're waiting for a third. Approximate cost, we're looking at £40,000. All 3 of the companies that I have seen were given that figure. Okay, so no, you've got the brief there. Beginners to intermediate users, £40,000. Must have a life of at least 10 years. You've had a concrete one. The one from Evolution is for a steel frame with a wooden riding surface. The one from Kaloo Monster that we're waiting for is likely to be a full steel construction with painted steel riding surfaces. So you've got 3 different sorts there. So really the proposals are that the council commits to this, that it authorises myself to submit the initial bid to Rutland County Council. This is not the full bid, it's just merely the initial bid. Rutland County Council will then decide whether that is eligible, let us know, and then we will have to put in the full application, which will require us to consult with various agencies. One of the proposals there, number 5, Chairman and I have discussed this, and there we will remove number 5 because that is basically asking the council for a blank cheque. So I don't know whether Alan can update us on what was decided on Monday.
Only so far, Chairman, is that it was approved and is going ahead, and that a number of sports bodies and voluntary bodies are well aware of the funds being made available and effectively have their bids ready to submit when the process has been sorted out. So we would not want to be left behind, I would not have thought.
Was there any discussion on match funding?
No, not in any detail. We should, however, be making sure that we have made all possible approaches to other funding suppliers before going to them.
That's a requirement of the bill.
Yes.
Any comments on that?
If I may just make another comment, if I may, just in terms of the actual structure itself, and I know we don't have all 3 in front of us. Some people seem to be very keen on having a concrete structure. I do understand that for its longevity, or whatever the word is. But I do have some health and safety concerns because we're looking at this being for younger, less experienced, less able riders who probably won't have safety equipment. Would we dream of putting the base of it as concrete? I don't think we would. So I'm not really happy at all with the idea of concrete.
I think at the moment we're just looking at the process
I know,
of
it's-
application for the funding. What we'll do later on, once hopefully we get the funding, then we'll be looking at which proposal we wish
I'm
to
just
take.
preparing it for
Which, yeah, okay, but also we'll be able to communicate with the people who are obviously the users. So purely tonight we're looking at the application for funding. Okay. Any other comments?
Just very, very useful full paper, and since we've removed proposal 5, I strongly support all the proposals.
The only observation I was going to have is that with the renovation of the castle project coming online, with their funding and that now moving into its works phase, is, I'm not sure, I can't remember the exact timelines they are. The only thing is that I'd ask that if this gets through, which I'm hoping it will, is that we become mindful of the fact that if there are any dates that clash, that we give way slightly to the castle project, partly to ensure that they get full publicity for what they do, and that we do not lose publicity in what we're doing. And that's my only observation.
You're talking about managing it.
Managing the time so that when it is completed, it's actually promoted correctly, so that we get full acknowledgement for it, because the town council is looking to improve facilities for the young, and it would be a shame for it to be lost in amongst everything else that's going on in the town, because it's a busy 4 years.
Do you want each proposal to
Everybody's happy with 1, 2, 3. 4, 6 and 7, deleting proposal 5.
The only point I make is that in 7, I think the wording should be that further investigatory work is undertaken. It's only a minor point, I know, but we're looking at possibility of building a further skate park in another part of the town in the future, because of the limitations we have on Cuts Close, and that we can only replace on the present footprint, and that does restrict what we can do. Okay.
Can I just ask, with you saying that about the footprint, does that mean then we don't have to have the archaeological people in and we haven't got to pay for them?
I think that's right.
Is that 40,000 just for the structure, or are we got some hangers on?
I mean, no, we would have to negotiate, sorry, not negotiate, that's the wrong word, but we have to keep the charities informed, but we won't need archaeological on it.
And the other thing is observation today that they've already started on the embankments, and I've been to see them, as I would be nosy about the trees, and within the next fortnight some of the trees are going to be coming down, but they couldn't tell me which ones, so I'll keep an eye on that.
So we'll take all the proposals together then, if it's okay. Members happy on that? Okay. So looking at proposals 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7. Deleted proposal 5. So, do I have someone to support the proposal? That's the one. Second? The 3. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Next one is item 10, which is freedom of entry, which Councillor Lowe.
Thank you. I think everybody will have read the blue paper in relation to this request, which contains a letter from Robert Boyle as to why they're making it. I may appear to be over-interested in this, and I am, but not for the wrong reasons, but for the right reasons. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allude very briefly to the World War I Commemoration Committee of Rutland, who are working on a national-based orientation of commemoration of the Great War. It's with us until 2019. And looking on the spreadsheet that the WW1 Commemoration Committee are working on, the first year was all about raising awareness, about education, as well as the significance of commemoration as well. As they move into, and that was 2013 when they started, when they come into 2014 they've been doing school exhibitions, permanent exhibitions, the Kendrew Barracks event was all focused around this kind of activity. In 2015, the only thing they've got down at the moment is Friesenberg, and the reason that Robert Boyle submitted his letter, which I will reiterate, is that the 2015 is the 100th anniversary of the Leicester Yeomanry winning the battle honours at the Battle of Friesenberg, which was in Belgium. And the connection, which I will once again happily reiterate, is that A Squadron, which was the squadron that was coming from Oakham or Rutland people, that is a strong connection. To a certain extent, we've already put something on this year when we went to Kendrew Barracks. In 2015, we should be, as a council, looking to support the national commemoration of WW1. And don't take this the wrong way, but the Leicester Yeomanry and Robert Boyle, to a certain extent, handed us on a plate an opportunity to support the WW1 commemorations. And I think that the rest is all written down here, that you can see that the connections are there. And I'm hoping that the council, in principle, will agree to go with this proposal, this request.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I very much favour freedom of entry events. I think they're very, very good for the culture of the town, and I think at £1,500 or something, I think they're very, very good value for money. I'm slightly concerned, this may be wrong, that we might be running out of regiments to award freedom of entry to, and we have had 2 or 3, haven't we?
Three.
Very
This was
very
very
recently. And I can see that, you know, its resonance with World War I is appropriate. I just wonder whether it might not be better towards the celebration of 1918 rather than now. So I'm just concerned that it's a good event, but we might just be banging them all in together and run out of them eventually.
And I think you'll find that it was the freedom of entry for Cottesmore War was back in the mid-80s, I think it was. So there was a gap of 25 years nearly from that until we granted freedom of entry to St George's Barracks. So I suppose there is that delay in that 25 years in that the council didn't grant any freedom during that period. Therefore, we're now looking at probably 3 in a row because of that. But I can understand why they've applied for this. Obviously, it's a great significance to the...
Well, it's the 100th anniversary of the Great War, and it's the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Friesenberg, which they celebrate every year over at Bradcote Park anyway. And in 2015, next year, Robert Boyle is looking at taking a contingent back over to Friesenberg to do another commemoration. Valid point, I agree with what Rob says, is that fact he is right that it could be better placed. I think it could be better placed. But as the time moves on, as they go into 2016, it's going to be all about the Battle of the Somme, because they're trying to follow the timeline of the years that these events occurred. 2017 is going to be the elements in relation to that, and 2018-19 is all about healing wounds, not just the physical wounds, but the between the nations, let's say. So whereas I totally get what Robbie's saying, and ideally I'd rather have this at the back end, that would be seen almost as a celebration, because as we get to the end, even though it is all about commemoration, we avoid the word celebration, it is more poignant in 2015, and I do hear the words that the chairman, the mayor made, Jane Woodcock, when she said that there is a risk that we end up with having them every year. And whereas I don't want to have them every year, it does seem unfortunate that 2015 is the best time for it. The only reason that they didn't get it in last year, because of course with 504, Nottingham squadron got it in. So. But I will leave it up to the council to decide, and thank you.
That's all.
I do sympathise with Rob's view, and I certainly wouldn't want freedom of entry year on year or every other year or whatever. But clearly, Adam has done an awful lot of work on this, and he knows about the events which are happening. And I'm perfectly happy to take his word on when he thinks is the best time that this should happen. If that's next year, then so be it. It's next year.
It's the most.
In the
it is under these circumstances. It's not ideal, but it's the most appropriate for the regiment or the squadron, given what they're going through.
I can understand people's concern about having 3 in a row. But just thinking about what is remaining now, who else could request a freedom? The only one that comes to mind is Kendrew Barrack, which has only now been open 3 years, isn't it? Which is much too short for us to even consider granting freedom.
I think we could be potentially looking at a freeze on it. Terrible word to use given the circumstances, but sort of we should be focusing on the commemoration element, and that's one of the big things about this. That's what made sense to me as well, as the timings, and it is an event that we don't have to, it's harsh saying it, but we don't have to think too hard about doing something next year. But I would think the Oakham Town Council, and I'll certainly be thinking and bouncing heads with WW1 commemoration committee on what we can do in 2016, 17 and 18 and 19, because we're going on till then as well.
I think any application we get must be looked at on their merits.
Yes.
Which is essential, isn't it? And I can't really recall anyone who, any regiment or squadron or RF station that would be coming into that situation. As I said, the only other thing is that obviously our Cottesmore now is closed, and that freedom is now finished. It doesn't. It's now Kendrew Barracks, so it's freedom doesn't last. What?
Just something other than all that, I'm very happy to propose it.
Can I commend to Adam as he looks at the wounded people, two names actually stand out to me. If you can look at the history of Codrington and Handley, you'll see how significant I'm talking about. I'll see you after about, particularly about Codrington.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a proposal from Rob that we agree to the freedom of entry for Leicestershire only. In principle,
Yes.
in principle only, there's going to be,
Yeah.
if you agree to that, then obviously there's another report
Yeah.
that come back to this council on various aspects of it, including the costs of it. Stubbs. All those in favour?
Chair, unanimous, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just make one additional comment? I don't want to use my notes that I've made, but for those of you that are interested in WWE1, so slightly off track, is that Battle of Freesburg was the first time that the Germans used gas in the First World War. Thank you.
Okay, item 11, which is amendment to standing orders. Fairly straightforward. It is a proposal for Rutland County Councillors who attend these meetings as open board members to be able to make a contribution to the meeting. Any questions?
Can I say that down south, that used to be the option that we in the parish council did.
Seems perfectly sensible to me, Chair. I wouldn't expect boards of county councillors to descend upon us and take over the meeting. I think we're quite safe.
I think I would hope we get one or two occasionally.
It would be nice.
Yes, it would be nice. You propose, Councillor Stubbs, second please. Councillor Kins. All those in favour? Thank you, unanimous. Item 12. No?
Alan.
Chair, a strange name.
That quickly, then.
Yeah, just need copies of the other room.
Okay, item 12, representatives. The first one is the Rutland Citizens Advice Bureau, which we wish to defer from this meeting and bring it back at a later date. Can I have a proposal that we do defer that?
Not proposal.
Okay.
Any reason on deferring?
The deferral is that the person who is interested in being a member of that is not here tonight.
Oh, well, that's the reason I deferred it.
Okay, okay. So I've got a proposal from Councillor, number second.
Thanks.
Second. Okay, all those in favour? Against? One against. Remember that recorded up?
Against, named.
Okay. Two, to appoint two members to the promotions working group. That's what, do you want to say how many people you got on the group?
Plus two.
Those two.
Just the two of you?
Plus two.
And you're looking for two more?
volunteers.
Do we have any,
We have the assistant clerk, Alison, will do our administration from here on in, which I found out this evening. She won't need to attend meetings, but she's going to help us sort of doing some of the legwork behind the scenes.
okay.
Thank you. Thank
So we're looking for two members to join the group. Do we have anyone wishing to volunteer for that?
There is one person, a councillor, who is not here, who I know would be willing to join.
Okay, we'll need to wait for that person to be attending a meeting then.
Yes.
So if there's no one wishing to propose, then no one else to volunteer for this.
Do you want to defer this until that
I think
counts?
we'll probably have to do that until we've got other councillors here. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll keep
Okay,
it
can
on screen.
I have a proposal, and this is also deferred.
It's deferred.
Second? Second? Rob? All in favour? Yeah, okay, thank you. The next one is to appoint a member to the Town Council and Town Partnership Joint Working Group. Okay.
I'm willing to stand.
Councillor Stubbs volunteering, okay. Are there any other volunteers?
Perhaps, Chairman, you ought to explain to the new member how these work and how often he might commit himself to a job. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And not everybody knows what.
I'll give you some time.
Yes, it is.
I mean,
Yes.
I'll sit down with,
Yeah.
with
As
this.
there's two spots been deferred, it might be appropriate for...
Yes.
Yeah, I can sit
I'll
down.
Well, we
see.
don't need to rush.
So Richard can brief
No, it's
councillor
just
Howard on
nothing
that.
like-
Yeah, it
Yeah.
will take quite a while to go through this, which is probably not for this
I'll
meeting.
second councillor
Stubbs?
Stubbs.
Okay. All in favour of councillor Stubbs?
He proposed himself.
Okay.
He keeps sort of volunteering.
Yeah, volunteering as well. All those against? Abstaining? Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Sorry, how did you see? Okay. Okay, so councillor Stubbs is appointed to the joint town council and town partnership joint working group. Okay, next one is to appoint 2 new members to the staffing committee. Presently, members of the staffing committee are Mark, who is the chairman, myself, Adam and Maureen. Maureen, as you know, is not very well at the moment, and it might be worthwhile considering, or really worthwhile considering a replacement for Maureen to make sure the staffing committee performs. And also, as you recall, that Councillor Lockett, who resigned a couple of months ago, was also a member of that committee. So we're looking for 2 members to the staff committee. Do you have any volunteers?
Has Maureen been advised about this?
You've spoken.
I think it would be discourteous to gazump her.
No, it is a good point.
However, I mean, for
No,
council,
warning them.
so it could certainly, I think it would be inappropriate to,
I agree with you, yeah, I agree.
so, but I mean, if there is another seat going, then I would suggest maybe
Okay.
councillor Stubbs.
Who'd like to? Okay. Do we need to second it?
Well, I'll pass down.
Stan, you're proposing yourself. Do you have a seconder? Go ahead. Stan. Alan, all those in favour? Okay, for the moment then we'll just appoint 1 person to the staffing committee. So Maureen, that's okay. The next point is agenda item 13, which is the budget. You're right.
Just to sort of note where we are in this budgetary process at the moment, you've got various figures there that Rob and I went through a couple of weeks ago. We believe they're pretty accurate now. Obviously, we're going to have to do some further costings on the freedom of entry, but we estimate 1,500. The big thing obviously is that we are not aware of what the council tax base will be, which can have quite a considerable impact on the budget. There is also a working group looking at the fitness centre, and that will be reporting to you at the December meeting. Is that right? Yes. Yes. We'll be reporting to you, so that figure may well be adjusted as well. So unless anybody has any real questions or any real issues with it, it is really just to note where we are in the process.
Any questions?
Can I just, I'd like to state how thorough I think this report is.
Good. Yeah. Good. Is it, obviously, this is not the last time we can have a look at this, because we'll come back again in December, and I think we've got to complete it by January.
Yeah, you're right on, Jimmy.
So there's time to look at this again. This is purely for you to note progress. Okay. Okay, on to item 14, which is the new furniture for the council chamber. Okay, as you know, we've been looking at replacing these tables with some more modular type furniture in a U-shaped design, and we've been looking at various companies who could supply that furniture. Looking at flip-top tables with modesty panels, which can be then stacked one side if we need to use the room for anything else. Also chairs, cantilever chairs. That's 14 chairs for the table and an additional 10 stackable chairs, which can be used for members of the public. Are there any questions on this?
Chairman, as councillor been with his tape measure to make sure it all fits in.
Through the chair, no, I haven't on this occasion.
You have on previous occasions.
I have on previous occasions, but if you'd like me to say what I was going to say anyway, as I'm speaking, Although I appreciate that the furniture may be of use if we ever move in the future, I'm still not convinced of any great benefit of changing furniture, despite people's theories. We'll have the same number of people, same number of chairs, there'll just be a hole in the middle, so I'm not absolutely convinced. I think the problem is the room, not the furniture. But that's an opinion, I know others disagree.
I think it's going to be a problem changing the room rather than the furniture. Yeah, Councillor Lucas first.
Sorry.
So, Chairman, can I take it that Councillor Walters will help us to move these tables on Sunday afternoon before the late night shopping, because it's getting a bit silly having to move these every time we either want to let out the room, hire the room, or whatever you like to call it, or have a function in here, we have to move these heavy tables. So I'm expecting you 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon to come and help me to move them. Okay?
Knowing full well I can't even lift the chair.
That's the reason, is it is more functional than having 2 whacking big tables like this.
I realise I'm in a minority of one.
There's another reason.
Not the chair.
There's another reason for it, obviously, because members of the public at the moment are sitting looking at your backs.
Yes.
If we, the idea is that we'll have a U-shaped table with the top table along here with members sitting along there, so they'd be able to face inwards, rather than be more inclusive than actually looking at, they're very nice backs, but they are backs. Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say exactly what you said. I think it's very discourteous. I did sit there 2 meetings before I was elected, and I just saw people's backs all the time. It is not pleasant, actually.
So you shop them, not right.
Mind you, our fronts might be even worse.
Chair, just a question. Might these substantial tables have some value?
Yes.
I'm sure they would, because we try and pick them up, do
Please don't send them to tenants.
I suspect someone will.
Yeah, I'm sure they would do.
The last time we discussed this, and this is a good few years ago, there was an offer on this, which was of this table, which I thought was absolutely ridiculous, and I think it should go out to people who know how much these tables will cost. And I won't give the name of the person, but I will afterwards.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Can we get back to the matter in hand then, please? What we need to do tonight is agree on a supplier for the purchase of the tables. You see there that there's 2 suppliers at the moment, PBS and LOF. Whatever they mean. They're 2 companies, which I'm not sure they're... PBS office in Melton, liquidation office French. They've quoted for tables, they've also quoted for 14 chairs for the tables and the 10 stackable chairs. Now there's no reason why we have to buy the tables, the chairs and the stackable chairs from one outlet. We can pick and mix if we wish to. So just appreciate your views on how we should go about this. Can I give you a clue? If you look at the tables, let's start with the tables for a start. You've got quite a variation in price for those tables, from £2,175 down to £1,446. Now, I don't know if Alison can tell us what the difference in the quality of those tables are, or whether there's a massive difference between them. No. Are they similar or you can't?
I mean, they're both very similar. It's just one. I mean, Vanity is a brand name, whereas Teamworks is an own brand name. So whether it justifies that, I don't know. But the construction is pretty much the same. The finishes are pretty much the same. It's just a case of, as I say, one's an own brand and one's a brand. Okay. And so similarly with the chairs, we've actually seen the chairs from LOF, the cantilever chairs, very nice indeed. And I think if Alison could get a word in, she would say PBS Teamworks for the tables, LOF for the chairs.
We know the stackable chairs, the 10 stackable chairs are virtually the same price, at just about £600.
where the tables and the 14 chairs, there's a considerable difference between the highest and the lowest.
The only reason I said about PBS for the tables is because LOF, he didn't commit too much on the modesty panels,
Okay.
whereas the chap from PBS knew all that table and
And gave you the best price.
yeah.
Any questions?
So PBS does include modesty panels?
Yes,
Yeah.
and flip top.
Anybody, any comment? Anybody want to make a proposal?
Well, I would propose it almost seems a no-brainer to me, that I would suggest, propose what's already been suggested, and that is PBS for the tables and LOF for the chairs.
Okay, so that's PBS Teamworks at 1446.
Yes.
Sorry, and
The
what?
middle one, PBS Teamworks
Yeah,
for the tables,
yes,
1446, then LOF
For the chairs.
14 chairs. What about the stackable chairs? Obviously, if we were to buy all from one company, you might get a better discount. So would it be worthwhile, you think, going back to PBS, which are the cheap ones, for the stackable chairs, and see if we can get more discount? If we link those into the tables? So you'd have £1,446 for the table, £599.80 for the stackable chairs. And then from a different company we get the 14 chairs at £1,190.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do?
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because you sort of, so if that's, I think Sam was proposing it anyway, so.
Okay. Is that what, confirm that's what you're proposing, Stan? Okay. Then wish to second that? No. No. Okay, well that proposal falls. Anybody has a counter proposal?
Before going to a counter proposal, I noticed that the final figure for each supplier is substantially less, or appears substantially less than the total of the individual columns, or certainly for
Yes.
LOF. So I don't think we have the full information here as to the impact of us splitting the supplies. So LOF, they're taking £1,500 off if we buy all of them from them,
Yes.
which is more than the savings by going to PBS for the tables, I think, just that, yes. Although I appreciate the comment about modesty.
yeah.
Just doing a quick one. I think you've come up with about 3,200 if the way we've just done it.
Yeah.
If you want to go with LOF completely, get £3,059.70.
I'm not making a proposal for that.
No, so that's
I don't think you should do that,
yeah.
if that's helpful. But I think we had a comment about modesty.
Yeah, well, there was a problem with LOF.
Well, it just didn't seem to be terribly keen on the idea. With the modesty panels from LOF, they will have to basically bolt them on themselves because they don't do stackable, flip top tables themselves with modesty panels.
I have to say, I don't understand the PBS design. They've got 3 rectangular tables, 2 metres, and 2 triangular ones. And is this diagram, who is this diagram, the second diagram?
That's from LOF.
So we don't have a diagram for the 3 rectangular and the 2 triangular.
But it was basically the one you had before, but they've just, it's just the sizes of basically it was just the same design, but the 2 corner ones, they just changed
The corners taken off.
they just changed
Corner
the
table.
size. They're going to do 3 bigger ones than 8 than 4, and they've still got the triangle ones on.
there seems to be a bit of a general lethargic approach to whether the council should even bother getting the furniture in my general.
Oh, I'm just coming to that.
That's just me.
No.
Well, it is your own, yes. But I think other members of the council seem reluctant to support this.
Okay, are we in a position now where we want to defer this and let it come back for some more
Oh,
information?
goodness sake.
I mean, because we're not getting anything at the moment.
Let's
Nobody
get
wants to
on
make a
and do
proposal.
it.
If I don't get a proposal, then we can't follow it through.
I still don't understand the PBS. I have no problem with the LOF, both design and cost, but I don't have anything to judge it against.
It's in the plan.
What is it that you need to treat against?
How these 3 rectangular and 2 metre tables and 2
I think
triangular
that's probably a
0.8
typo, Rob. I think it should be
metre
4.
table.
They would change the sizes, didn't they?
You see that, Rob? Everybody see? See where the triangle bits come down the side?
Yes.
How many tables are there on?
3 tables, 2
There's
triangles.
one there, and then tables down there.
There's 4 tables and 2 triangles.
Yeah, but
Okay.
If you remember the
But
last time, Alan measured up.
that one in the middle, Rob, the old design was 2 1.4 metre tables, so it was 2.8 metres. Okay, and when Alan measured it up, there was hardly any gap. So what PBF are now proposing is that there will be a single 2 metre table, so basically saving 80 centimetres or 40 centimetres on either side. So Alison had it right, so there'll be 3 2 metre tables and 2 triangulars.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, unless we can come to some conclusion, I'm going to defer this. Okay? If nobody can make a proposal, then something I can do is defer it.
Well, how's it going to change so that next time it comes before us, we
More information.
I'll get them to do a new design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's come back to planning and parks. Yeah, okay. So I'll defer that item. And Alison will get more information for you and we'll bring that back to the next.
Proposal to defer it, if it helps.
Thank you. All in favour? You're staying. You're staying.
Oh, I think we should do it tonight.
Okay. So are you against or abstaining?
Against.
Okay. Do you want to record it?
No,
Okay.
I just think we're wasting
Okay.
time.
Okay, next one is licenses to install cycle racks and bollards. This is a proposal from the county council where you've got bollards at the just a
Chairman, have we considered the introduction of a hearing loop system in the council chamber or not?
See what?
Have I missed it?
We'll look into it.
Sorry, what's that? Let's go. What's that?
Or have I missed it because you've discussed it and I haven't heard
It's
you?
inherited as my memory.
Oh, sorry, I missed that afterwards. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Okay, but with this, there's also the introduction of a hearing loop system into the council chamber, which I picked up. Would you like to brief us on that, Richard?
No, we don't know really anything about it apart from I think that obviously again to make sure that everybody can hear what is being said, that council should consider it and we will look into quotes, designs, etc., and see what we can get in here.
So who's put this on the agenda then?
Well, Joyce
Jane
and Jane
and Joyce.
asked for it to go on.
Okay, we've got no report.
No.
Okay.
I think it's put on as a question, Chairman, and I think that we're looking for a proposal that
To get quotes. That's
so
what
we
we're
get some quotes and the implications of it.
Okay. I'll propose then that we
I
get
would
quotes.
propose that.
Would somebody like to know how deafness affects this council chamber? Or are you just going to have something sitting in the middle of the room there? Or would you like to know what it's like being deaf?
I think
Sorry.
we're in
I think
favour
we're aware
of
of
that.
that.
We're in
Yeah.
favour of it, to explore what it costs.
Exactly. And what deaf people don't want is to be plumped with something in the middle of the room to make it obvious that they are deaf. It's an affliction. It's not something to be laughed about. If I was blind, I would have a screen there, like they did at the Rutland County Council for the man that was visually impaired. I don't want to have something sitting in the middle of the room. It needs to be so that everybody can hear with a microphone. Now, if you're going to actually look into it, look into the right kind of equipment, please. Thank you.
That would be the amended proposal, Chairman, that a hearing loop is, an appropriate hearing loop is progressed, being installed, looking into blah blah.
So are you prepared then to assist the clerk to look into this?
Sorry?
Are you?
I'm sorry, I heard you the first time. Yes, I have suggested that the lady from the Access Group, whatever her name is, I've forgotten. But the thing is, I had a conversation out there with a lady who got a visually impaired thing, and she said, and I said, I am deaf. And she said, that is the problem with deaf people, is that you cannot see that we are deaf. You can see if you're blind. People can see if you're blind, if you're an amputee, but you cannot see when people are deaf. Can I make that point? Thank you.
Okay, can I have,
I've made a
Yes.
proposal,
Your
I'm
proposal.
not going to include it, all the
Karen Miller is what I was thinking of. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, now on to the cycle racks. County Council proposing installing cycle racks at the top of the junction of the top of Jerry Street and South Street, and also on the marketplace at the back of Murray's. As far as I'm aware, we are just the licence holders for this.
They are, and these are actually already been put in.
They're in already. They are.
They're in.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, it's retrospective. This is.
They were put in early this week.
Oh, Market, South Street. Is that somewhere near the grotty litter bin that's done? Yes.
What's the time of the road, isn't it? Okay.
We've been, oh, I haven't got them.
So the two basically at the South Street end of Jerry Street, and there are two in the marketplace. So all with no cost to the council. We've got the licences, so it's just really a case of authorising you to sign them.
Okay, that's the proposal.
And second, is it?
Thank you. All those in favour? Okay. Next one, item 16, is authority for the town clerk to sign the lease for the Barleythorpe Road area, which we're negotiating. Sorry, the chairman, not clerk, to sign the lease for the Barleythorpe Road area, which is being transferred to us from Gresham. We discussed this some time ago, if you remember, and we've now been waiting for a considerable time for the lease to come through and for it to go through the solicitor. So we now have a lease which is for 99 years at a peppercorn rent. We are responsible then for maintaining the area. You'll recall this is the area at the side of Belway Homes development on the large bend in front of what we used to call the old sixth form building. Okay, so can I propose then that we authorise the chairman to sign the lease and the associated documentation for this ground? Second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Is this up to scratch? Yes, is
Yeah.
it?
What the scratch?
What, the boundary and everything?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we've gone through all that.
All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Next one is item 17.
Chairman, do we have an extension? Oh, sorry.
It's 9 o'clock.
So it's 9 o'clock. No, sorry, I didn't realise. Does that also count if you adjourn the meeting for about half an hour?
The safety section. Shall we?
Okay, can I ask for a proposal that they extend the meeting by 15 minutes?
Yes, second.
Second. All those in favour? Thank you. Right, author, community governance review, it's item 17, which you have a letter before you, which has been compiled by Rob, to go to Rutland County Council to request that they hold a boundary review of the area which is now enclosed by the bypass, which is the Barleythorpe area, which we were looking at earlier on. Then this is a community government review which the county council are required to do on request from a parish and also from a number of electors in the district. So this one is coming obviously from ourselves to request a review of the boundaries of Oakham and Barleythorpe parishes. Any questions? Any comments? Do I have a proposal? Rob, good job you proposed it, Rob. You move second? All those in favour? All those against?
No, I was Chair.
You
Can I abstain
abstain?
from this, please, because I'm not fully appraised of this.
No.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks.
6 for all, 1 abstain.
Number 19 is the schedule of payments. You have before you, are there any questions? There's no questions, can I propose to accept the schedule of payments? Rob, second. All those in favour?
Unanimous, thank you.
Is it, Adam, you?
Yes, also, I was just,
I didn't get a unanimous vote then.
Oh,
so
okay.
we can try again. Thank you. Oh, yes, unanimous. Thank you. Item 20 is the statement of accounts. Are there any questions on the statement of accounts?
has that been removed as a signatory?
I was just asking that we remove.
Yeah, no, we need to
No comments.
Just perhaps draw your attention, which I have done in the past, and on a few variances. Obviously, we sort of budgeted quite a lot for the skate park. We are still waiting for it to be patched up, so that's still quite high. Or there's quite a lot left in that budget. Play equipment, I've let you know about that one before. We're well over on that one. Planting tree surgery, we're well under, but there will be some works to be done there. And I think that's pretty much it. Everything else was sort of roughly where we thought we would be. So,
Could just say, Chair, I mean, if you look at the very last page of the whole collection, page 3, on the very bottom line, which essentially shows that our income is almost exactly at this point of the year what we thought it would be. Our expenditure is about just under 9,000 less than we thought it would be, and so we're in a very healthy position vis-à-vis where we thought we'd be.
Thank you very much. Yeah. One more question? No? Further to accept the statement of accounts, please.
Yeah.
Those second. All those in favour? Unanimous.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and therefore I declare the meeting closed at 20:04.
We did about 3 hours, 5 minutes.